He's a king, an apex predator. That's his job, to bring balance to the world, to nature. So maybe nature is balancing itself out by not giving us a string of, 9 years without having hurricanes, because, we had a string of really powerful bad hurricanes in the 80s and 90s. Did we not? We had things like Andrew, and then we had Katrina, and there's a few others in there. And so maybe nature was like, okay, no, I got to balance myself out. So we're not going to have any for like 9 years or 10. If we don't get any this year, this would be year number 10. And nature is kind of ignoring us, kind of like the Mutos and Godzilla. They look down on the human beings like, you guys are tiny, you're puny, you're insignificant to me. And Godzilla is looking at humans. I'm not here to hurt you. I could stomp on you and eat you and crush you. And I'm not even here to. Guys are. In other words, nature in the movie, nature was they were kind of telling us that nature views mankind as being puny and insignificant, pretty much. But we have all these wonderful fake scientists, they're real scientists. No, if you lie about science, I don't care what your degrees say and how long you studied, you're a fake scientist. You're a fraud. And we know that they've committed fraud in this global warming front. We've seen the emails. We've seen the real test results. We've seen the data that they've input into some of these models. It's all been skewed. In other words, it's been faked. We know that they're faking it. So they're fake scientists out there trying to tell us that there's this real issue with mankind, and there isn't any. And Godzilla was being perfectly, the movie Godzilla, the latest one, was being perfectly clear. Hey, it was the first Godzilla movie, the original Gojira, Godzilla came about due to mankind's nuclear testing. Yeah, it's terrible. Godzilla has a history of being politically correct, if you will, on global warming and pollution and such. There's quite a few Godzilla movies that take that vein. And this one comes along and throws a wrench into all the previous Godzilla. Because then they say, this one, it says, well, you remember these tests, these nuclear tests, and we originally thought that they created Godzilla. But what we now know, the secret's out, we weren't testing. Nuclear bombs didn't cause or create Godzilla. No, actually, we weren't testing. We were trying to kill him. And we failed. Because, nature. Nature will do what nature does. Basically is what the story is about. Nature will do what nature does, and it will seek its own balance regardless of what we do. So these people over here in the UN, it's all about the money and control. Because they think they're so smart that they can fake a bunch of information and get you to believe it, which a lot of people did. And now we're told, and this is from climatedepot.com, there's a pause happening. Yeah, I kid you not, folks. I kid you not. I told you about this global warming stuff. I've been telling you this since I first started broadcasting back in 2009. And again, I've been proven right. You skeptics out there, you're going to learn not to doubt me. I would think that this would, help bring that forth of no doubt. No doubting Rod. ClimateDepot.com. Global warming pause expands to new record length. There has been no warming for 18 years and 5 months and counting. Now, this is scientific data. This is them keeping accurate records that they don't want you to know about. But it's the cat's out of the bag now. The proverbial cat is out of the bag. Godzilla brought it forth. Look, hey, folks, there's been no global warming. There's been no warming of this planet. And you hear this constantly, the planet is warming, the oceans are getting warmer. They've been saying that, the ocean levels are rising. It's all been lies. Over the past 18 years, it's been nothing but lie after lie after lie after lie. And it is now out there that they have the data to show you and prove it to you. There has been no global warming for over 18 years and counting now. No warming. Planet's not getting hotter. And I think, for those of us who've been alive long enough, we can see the anecdotal evidence that, we've had some pretty cold and harsh winters over the past few years. Seems like winters are coming back with a vengeance. I know we all have the grandparent or the uncle or something, or we remember winters when we were little and young, and the snowbanks were over our heads and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's pretty easy when you're only 3 feet tall, but still at the same time, we also remember that it being pretty cold. And now we're getting back to that. We are back to that. I mean, this year's winter it started pretty early from what we've been used to. We started getting pounded, with snow, and the same with last year. We started getting pounded with snow and cold temperatures in December, 2 years running. And this past winter, we were breaking cold record lows all over the country. We were breaking snowfall records all over the country. We were setting snow records in places that don't normally get snow. How do you set a record someplace you don't get snow? Well, we're getting snow. And that's not due to... And it's not just happening in the United States. Eastern and Western Europe last year, it was in a deep freeze. Remember that? I mean, places that are normally cold, it was colder. And it was so cold that even they said it was cold. Places like in Russia and the Ukraine and Finland and Sweden, all the way down to Spain and France, places that don't normally get all that cold in the winter, they were like freezing their little tushies off. So now we see 18 years, 5 months and running of no warming. None. But weren't we just told a few months ago, last year, the year before last, all the way back to 2009, oh yeah, the planet's heating up, planet's warming up, we're getting hotter and hotter. It's going up by this much and this much and this much, and by the end of the decade and by the end of the century, it's going to be this high. And it's all been a bunch of lies because there hasn't been any warming. But yet we have the UN people, climate change people, running all over the globe in their jets and limousines, trying to get money and so they can get laws and programs in place that restrict our freedom and liberty because they want to tell us how to live, because they want this green utopia that at this particular juncture in man's development does not exist. We don't have it within us to do it yet. We'll get there. And we will actually have alternative sources of energy that will not pollute at all, that will be in harmony with nature, but we're not there yet. We don't have that technology yet. Maybe we do, but it's not practical yet. That's what I should say. We have certain technologies that have proven that can work, but they're not practical. They're not as efficient as they could be yet. So we're not there yet. And as far as things getting really, really warm, well, I think you better ask the scientists again about how warm it is. Because here's something from the Daily Caller. And I look at people, the ice is melting. The polar ice is melting. And all we saw was all of these, these glaciers falling off into the ocean. What they didn't tell you is that they weren't breaking off into the ocean because, things were warming up and that the polar ice caps were shrinking. Oh, no. They were breaking off because they were expanding out over the landmass, so there was no longer anything but water underneath them to support all this mass. In other words, they were growing. And here's the proof. I told you this. Here's the proof. Daily Caller has the article. Antarctica has so much sea ice that scientists are having trouble getting to Antarctica. You can't get there from here, as they say up here in Maine. In other words, the scientists can't get to where they want to go to study global warming. That's why they're going down there. They can't get to where they want to go to study global warming because it's too cold and there's too much ice. Now, how is that for irony? The scientists are struggling to stage expeditions to the South Pole because Antarctica's sea ice has been growing rapidly and hit record high levels. I told you. God, how many times am I going to say it? I told you, I told you, I told you. Well, all you got to do is look at NASA photographs of the poles and you can see that there's like tons of ice. I mean, it's white. The photographs are showing white caps on either end of the planet. You know, top and bottom, if you will. But that ice is not supposed to be there. I mean, what did we have last year and this year? We had the Great Lakes almost at 100% ice over. You don't get Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and the other Great Lakes to ice over unless it's freaking cold. And it has to be cold for an extended period of time. It isn't going to be like you're not going to freeze over the Great Lakes with a cold snap for a week. No, you're going to have an long extended period of time. And the previous year has got to be pretty cold too, because, and then the summers have to be fairly cool because the water can't heat up that much. So when you get back around to winter again, it's already starting at a heat deficit, if you want to call it. And heat deficit is what? Opposite of warming. Yes. So the UK Guardian reports 50 scientists have gathered in Tasmania to discuss more accurate ways to predict Antarctica sea ice levels so researchers don't get stuck in ice when traveling southward. Look, you can't make this stuff up, folks. You can't make it up. I don't need to make these people they're a comedy movie all by themselves. You can't nobody can write a script like this. I mean, this is all just natural stuff happening. And over and over again. And they're telling us it's hard to forecast the ice. We can't. Well, I thought they could predict how warm the weather was, or the planet was going to be 100 years from now. And now they're telling us that they cannot predict ice a year or less from now. But they can tell us how hot it's going to be. They just can't predict how cold it's going to be. Yeah. It's going to be hot. We're going to be so hot. We're going to be blazing. Oh, but, we have no idea how cold it's going to be. We can't predict, how much ice there's going to be next month. But we can tell you 100 years from now how hot it's going to be. Now, last year, I guess, ships couldn't get anywhere near the Australian Antarctic Division's research site on Antarctica. They couldn't get there because it was too cold. In an era of global warming, it was too cold. There was too much ice in an era of us losing our polar caps, so they said. They couldn't predict how much ice in an era when they were telling us how hot it was going to get if we didn't do something to combat global warming. And yet, we're told that we're supposed to know, or we're supposed to stop all this global warming stuff. Suppose it, because we're causing it. But again, all that is a lie, folks. Is a lie, has been a lie, always will be a lie. Don't ever doubt me.